In this video, I'm going to talk about 3 skills that can help you to stay psychologically healthier and stronger, so that you can be more resilient to pain, to fear, to anxiety, to depression. We cannot change what we cannot see, what we cannot recognize. We cannot regulate it. For example, when I stand in front of this camera, if there is a mess in my hair and I am not aware of it, if I don't see it, I don't have the chance to fix it or work on it. The same is actually true for our mental problems. If I'm able to recognize the root causes and factors underlying our feelings, thoughts, and behaviors while living life, only then will I have the power to work with them and regulate them. In order to be able to see and notice things, it is a very important skill to be able to slow down and bring the mind back to the present, the here and now. One of the prerequisites for increasing our awareness in today's world of speed and pleasure is to simplify a little bit, to slow down a little bit, and to bring the mind back to the present, to the here and now, to the moment, which is always wandering around in the regrets, longings, or sorrows of the past, or the plans and worries of the future. Therefore, it is one of the most basic skills. So how can I improve this skill? Breathing exercises and mindfulness are great for this. If you practice both breathing exercises and mindfulness exercises regularly every day, taking only 5 or 6 minutes a day, you will soon notice changes in your body and soul. First of all, these practices will help to physiologically calm your overactivated, over-accustomed nervous system, and then make it easier for your brain, mind, and thoughts to focus on the present moment. So what is breathing exercise and mindfulness exercise, and how to do it? If you are curious about this, I would love to explain it in this video, but if I add them in this video, the subject will be very long and it may take up to an hour. For this reason, I have added my videos that I have shot on this subject before, and that contain detailed explanations, including tiny exercises, to the comment that I pinned the link to the top. Now when I say this, some of our viewers may say this. So if you are going to direct us to other videos, why did we come here and so on? Look, think of this as a roadmap. I have made many videos on these topics before, and I don't want to retell what I have told in these videos over and over again, both in order not to lengthen the video and not to talk about the same things over and over again. But if we've just met you and you haven't watched my previous videos, it's very simple. You just go to the comment I've pinned at the very bottom. If you have started this subject, if you say yes, I will work on myself. If you say I will improve my psychological resilience, you need to put some effort into it. You know, with 2-minute reels, videos, or shorts videos, suddenly a magic wand cannot come and make us psychologically resilient. So it takes a little bit of time, a little bit of effort. Sir, the second skill is to go back to the beginning mind. What does it mean to return to the beginning mind? Beginning is a state of mind that has no judgment in it. When I look at what is in the moment, what is here and now, the emotions, thoughts, sensations in my body, aches, pains, whatever it is, when I notice them, it is the ability to observe them with a childlike curiosity and excitement, without judgment. Most of the time, our past experiences, what we have been taught, our expectations, our assumptions, prevent us from seeing things as they are. We perceive what we see in a distorted way, and as a result, we make certain interpretations, certain inferences. When we can come to the beginning mind, we can look at what is happening in the moment with childlike curiosity, without prejudice and with excitement. You know, it is easier to teach a subject to someone who knows nothing about it than to teach it to someone who already has false information about it. This is because the previous knowledge, the erroneous, distorted knowledge of the person who knows that subject incompletely and incorrectly, prevents the new knowledge from being learned and creates resistance. In this sense, in order to avoid this resistance, perhaps we need to forget all that we know and go back to our beginner's mind, the mind we had when we were children, when we could watch the world around us without judgment and with curiosity. But what does this have to do with psychological resilience? I'd like to give a concrete example. Let's say you're feeling bad at the time and you're in the here and now, where you're focusing on the moment, and a thought like, "I feel terrible," goes through your mind. You realize this, and maybe you felt a constriction in your body and in your heart. That's when it's not in your mind in the beginning. So when it is not in the mind at the beginning, Once the person realizes it, he makes various deductions based on that. For example, he says, "I feel terrible. Nothing gives me pleasure. So I am a weak person. That means I am a weak person. Because only weak people feel this way." Of course, as a result of these erroneous inferences and judgments, the person may feel himself in an even bigger predicament, and his inner distress may increase even more. And in order to cope with this growing inner distress, the person sometimes prefers to suppress that feeling, to distract themselves with other things, to distract themselves, or to try to escape from that feeling. And each of these, our efforts to suppress and avoid, cause this distress to grow even more. So our inability to tolerate ourselves creates bigger problems for us in the future. That's what this person thinks. So only the weak feel bad. Only the weak are like this. How could I end up like this? Alas, so that's what I am like. These thoughts are in this person's mind. These evaluations are judgments, because that's how it was produced. In other words, the reactions of his/her parents, what he/she has read, the movies, TV series, productions, conversations with friends, maybe some information on social media, or some inferences he/she has made, as a result of his/her own life experiences, may have led him/her to this judgment. And because of these judgments, he/she judges his/her own situation and becomes intolerant of his/her own feelings. When we are in the beginning mind, we don't experience any of this, because the person who can return to the beginning mind doesn't judge what they notice in the moment, whether it's a negative emotion in quotes, a negative thought in quotes, or a bodily sensation. They don't make inferences. They just see it as it is and calmly watch it. You may ask if this is easy. It varies from person to person, but it certainly requires effort. Again, I have videos that can help you with this. I have pinned the link to these at the top and added them to the comment. Sir. The third important skill we need to have is cognitive dissociation. What does cognitive dissociation mean? Now, cognitive dissociation is actually the opposite of cognitive adhesion. So what is cognitive clinging? Mostly we perceive our uncomfortable feelings and thoughts as if they are absolute realities, and we see them as directives or orders about what we are and what to do. For example, if you have a thought that I am worthless, after a while you look at it as if it were absolute reality. You believe it, and you cling to it. So much so that when someone says something, or behaves in a way that makes you feel that you are valuable or sends that message, you no longer receive that information, so you ignore them. You ignore them. For example, let's think of an individual who suffers from anxiety. If there is a thought in his/her mind that if I get on the bus, I will definitely have a panic attack, after a while the person may stick to this thought. In other words, he can experience cognitive fusion. So this thought becomes the only reality for him. It is as if he is 100% sure that he will definitely have a panic attack if he gets on the bus, and that is why he starts to restrict himself after a while. If the person is in this situation, that is, if they believe in the reality of these thoughts and start to restrict their own life, if they start to affect their own life, we call this situation cognitive association. So what is the solution to this? Cognitive dissociation, that is, realizing that one's thoughts may not always reflect absolute reality, being able to put a distance between oneself and one's thoughts, that is, being able to dissociate from the thought that one is clinging to, being able to say that it is just a thought, and maybe it does not reflect reality with a more objective eye from the outside, we call cognitive dissociation. For example, a person who notices that his pulse is slightly accelerating and develops the thought of, "Oh no, I'm having a heart attack," if he has the cognitive dissociation skill. After a while, he will realize that this is probably not something related to that. Thoughts often don't reflect reality, feelings come and go. So he will approach the situation more calmly, and probably after a while his pulse will slow down. But the person who does not have the cognitive dissociation skills, that is, the person who clings to those thoughts, after a while will say, "Oh no, I'm definitely having a heart attack. What is happening to me?" And will put himself in a spiral of anxiety, and this will most likely raise that pulse even higher, and maybe he will have a panic attack. In fact, bodily sensations, thoughts, emotions are mostly harmless and transient unless you combine with them. So being able to stay calm for a while, they will actually come and go on their own. Russ Harris, the famous psychotherapist, likened such thoughts to the fabricated tabloid news in the newspapers. I call this kind of thinking clickbait, and I say don't believe every thought. You know, on the internet, exaggerated and misleading statements are often used to get you to click on a link. The disaster scenarios we write and develop in our minds are just like these clickbait headlines. They are mostly harmless, as long as we don't believe them and get swept up in their flood. That is, as long as you don't actually click on them. Take care. See you in the new episode.